All right, so let's spend a couple minutes talking about writing styles. There are four writing styles, and you sort of need to know when to use each one. The writing styles include um, expository, descriptive, persuasive, and narrative. When you first start writing, the idea of different writing styles might confuse and intimidate you. There's a distinction between a writer's style and writing styles. A writer's style is an individual's writer's tone and manner, and sometimes called the writer's voice. And there are as many individual styles as there are writers. The idea behind this is that everyone has a way of telling a story, and everyone has a way of writing a communication. What we want to talk about now are writing styles. That is, different kinds of writing approaches to fulfill different purposes. All writing falls into four main types, and each of these four types has a specific purpose. This is helpful information. Once you understand and master the basics of each type of writing style, you can save time and write better because you'll know what sort of writing style is going to be necessary for this particular task that you have at hand. All right, so the idea behind different writing styles is it's all about purpose. As you prepare to write a project, you need to ask yourself this: what's the purpose of this project? Your answer will help focus you on the content and the approach and, of course, the writing style. Expository writing, writing to explain or inform. The purpose of this is to inform the reader about a subject. You give the facts and the explanations, often as a process or in logical order. A little bit like providing a testimony at a trial. No opinions, no hearsay, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. Where to use expository writing? Well, for how-to articles, news stories, instructions, textbooks, business writing, technical writing, scientific writing, academic writing, and things like recipes. Descriptive writing is writing to describe. The purpose is to describe a person, a place, a thing, or an event, or a brand. You use words to paint a picture, often with the senses. What you see, hear, taste, smell, feel, or touch. When do you use descriptive writing? Well, anecdotes, fiction, poetry, journals, writing, nature writing, travel pieces, and at some point in time, brand discussions and describing how a brand, for instance, got started. Persuasive writing, writing to convince or sway. The purpose is if you're writing a piece to convince someone of your point of view, or to take action, or to do something, you use reasons, arguments, and justifications to persuade the reader or embrace your idea or viewpoint. Persuasive writing often includes a call to action, aiming to get the reader to take a particular step. Where do you use persuasive writing? Well, copywriting, advertising, opinion pieces, editorials, sales letters, cover letters, etc. The fourth sort of writing style is called narrative writing. This is writing to tell a story. The purpose is to tell a story. If you use characters, conflict, dialogue, and lead the reader through the beginning, middle, and end of a story. Narrative writing answers the question, well, what happened? Where to use narrative writing? Well, with storytelling, fiction, poetry, biographies, human interest stories, anecdotes, novels, short stories, and, of course, stories about brands to convince people to like them. More than one style of writing in the same piece? Well, it's a possibility, but you ought to choose a style for the piece that you're writing by asking, what's the purpose of this piece? To inform, to describe, to persuade, or to tell a story. but along the way, give yourself the grace to use elements of all 4 types of writing to achieve that purpose. Writing styles bleed into each other. A good example of this is me writing a story about a brand. Well, I write the story about a brand, but what else am I trying to do? Well, I'm trying to make sure that I inform you about the brand, right? And maybe I describe the brand and describe how the brand maybe got its name and got its start. I was reading something the other day about a company that I used to work for and how its brand got started. And it was something that I really had not read before. And so I found it to be both informative, but also it was a great story. And in many cases, when we tell stories about brands, the purpose is to persuade you to either try the brand, to refer a person to the brand, or to create positive word of mouth about the brand. Another example, the main purpose of a blog might be to persuade, but you might use the elements of all 4 types of writing to that end. For an example, you open the post by describing an event you attended that brought an issue to your attention and an anecdote from the experience. You move into a short paragraph that puts forth your view on the subject. A section follows that gives facts and information, etc., etc. But choose your style for the piece, but don't get necessarily hung up on only using that style.